I'm Kyle from Arkansas Loose Shoot, and last week I issued a challenge for Gilliam, and we brought in Roger Grimes on it. I did a philosophy video on how to do two-on-one fighting at that moment. Both of them responded with great responses. Gary had used geometry for his and showed how circle theory, triangle theory, and straight line theory are really part of the same whole and how they kind of interblend. It was a great lesson. Roger went over hurry up and slow down, which I really appreciated because, like him, I've had this happen in jobs too, and I've nearly lost jobs, and I didn't get the lesson, but I know I'd have days, I'd work and I'd try so hard, I'd go in, I'd try harder and harder, and each day it'd be like I was getting closer and closer to getting fired, and I'd be like, well, no matter how hard I try, I'd just do worse and worse, so I'm not even going to try today, and I'd show up and I'd give up, and everybody'd be like, you're doing so much better. And I wouldn't understand because I'd be like, well, I quit trying. I gave up. I quit caring. And now, well, why do you say I'm doing better? And like him, it was, I was rushing around getting nothing done. I was so worried, overthinking things that although I was working 3 times harder and moving around and running like a chicken with its head cut off, I was accomplishing nothing. Whereas whenever I got past that and kind of quit, it was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this one task, and I started focusing on one task at a time. It's like, this gets done, this gets done, this gets done. And that hurry up and slow down is really great advice. So I hope you watch his video. His channel is Showdown1197. I don't think Gary puts too much of his on YouTube. He uses mostly Facebook, but go visit KIAI Karate, K-I-A-I Karate, and you'll see some of his videos. So I told them on the last one, after they did theirs, I would put up a second philosophy on how to use your driver's manual to teach you how to take a hit. And I see this all the time. I have been in probably 6 or 7 car wrecks and a couple of motorcycle accidents. And luckily for me, I always come out fine. The worst injury I've ever had and all the wrecks I've ever been in is I got into one wreck and a loose wire from the ignition went into my knee and hit the inside of my kneecap. So I got a stab wound and had to go get a tetanus shot. And that's the worst injury I've had out of major car wrecks. And not the last wreck I was in, but the wreck before that. I was sitting right beside a guy. And the guy beside me had a compound fracture, broke his arm in 4 places, while I received no injury at all. There were 2 girls in the front, both of them had concussions, both of them had injuries from their seatbelt. So what was the difference in why they get injured and I don't? Well, if you study driving or everything for very long, one of the first things that you'll learn, or one of the most common wrecks, is getting rear-ended. That's actually what happened to me in my last wreck, is I went to turn. There was a teenage kid behind me not paying attention. They ran right into the back of me. My car's in the shop now because of it. But no one got hurt. Now, what happens when you're following too close is you're going kind of along at the same speed, of course, and one car stops, and then the other plows into it. Now, in your driving manual, they tell you if you're following too close, this can happen. But if 2 objects going the same direction at the same speed cannot hurt each other. They will never make contact, right? Well, this is kind of why the guy that got hit next to me got hurt and I didn't. And it's something I see a lot. Usually whenever I see a guy and he's getting ready to take a hit, he'll tighten up, he'll stiffen up, he'll get ready, he'll brace himself for it. And I never understood that. It's like one of the worst things you can do to take a hit. If you look at drunk driving, as much as I hate to admit and take a lesson from drunk driving, a drunk driver usually gets hurt less. And the reason they get hurt less is they're not tightening up and stiff. They're relaxed. Because they're relaxed, they flop around more like a rag doll, they don't get hurt as much, and they generally come out of the wreck with less injuries than someone who is sober, given the same accident. And the reason is they don't tighten up. And that's what happened because whenever I was in the wreck with a guy who broke his arm, the girl who was driving made a left turn at an intersection and she didn't have time. She got T-boned on the side. She got T-boned on, I was in the passenger side, and that's the side we got T-boned on. And the other guy was beside me. So I was closer to the point of impact. Me seeing the wreck that was coming, I didn't have my seatbelt on or anything. You don't have to in Arkansas if you're in the back seat and over 16. Or at least you didn't have to at the time. I think they may have changed that law since. Person next to me, they saw the wreck coming too, and what they did was they grabbed onto the seat in front of them, they braced, and they tried to hold themselves in place. Well, they stiffened all their muscles around that joint, around that bone, and as soon as that car hit, there was nowhere for that arm to go, so it braced and it hit and it broke that arm in 4 places like a jigsaw puzzle. They had to get them in with plates, and it was a nasty break. They had to fix it. What I did, on the other hand, is I saw the car coming and I said, well, this is going to hurt. It hit me and it knocked me out of my seat. I kind of fell into the floorboard. I stood back up. I got out of the car, seen everybody was hurt, got around, checked on everybody, called an ambulance for them. But they had tightened up. They had gotten stiff. Everyone who had stiffened up in that accident had gotten hurt. And I've seen that happen so many times. And I've seen the opposite happen. I used to have a neighbor who was bad to... He drank a little too much, and he was often involved with some people he shouldn't. And he was in a car wreck where he was actually thrown out of the car. The car landed on top of him, and he had a road rash from being underneath the vehicle as it was going down the road, dragging down the pavement. They were actually going 165 miles an hour, so it was quite fast. And then it went off. But because he was so relaxed, the only thing he had was the road rash where the road had ripped up his back. No crushed bones, no serious injury, not even any real hospital time. He just went in for a checkup, said, yeah, you got road rash real bad. It's going to take a little bit for the skin to heal. And that's it. So how do we apply that to getting hit in martial arts? Well, there's a trick I like to do, taking a roundhouse kick to the stomach. And if I'm sideways, a lot of people think you're bracing yourself and you're hitting. You don't. What you do is, as that object hits, you let it carry you. I like to jump and let the kick carry me back. Or you can kind of jump back with it, because again, if the kick's coming this way and it hits you, and you start moving too, you're going to take less damage than if you're a solid object getting hit. It's going to take the full brunt of that force versus losing some energy pulling you back. So whenever you fight, in order to take these hits better, try not to stiffen up, brace, get nervous. Instead, off-center it. Let it hit you. You know, if that punch is coming for your center line, step off. Let it hit this shoulder to turn that way and reverse that power on them. You can use that power all the time. I like doing it off someone I know if I can take the hit and they're a fairly good boxer. I'll let them punch get off just off center line, and then as soon as they hit me, I turn that power right back into them, because the harder they punch me, the harder that twist, and the more power there is back into my punch. I'm not really taking that pain because I'm letting it just absorb and turn me faster. So you might have a little bit of pain at the initial impact, but not like you're going to have if you brace yourself and try to take the full brunt of it. So that's my trick for taking a hit. Anytime you get hit, either off center and twist, or jump back as it hits you, let it hit you. Never try to stand and take the full brunt of the hit. That's going to do more damage than any other way. And that is my philosophy for today, using a driver's manual to teach you how to take a hit. Remember that following too close rule. As long as you're moving in the same direction at close to the same speed, you're not going to take as much damage as that hit the brick wall effect. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoy this challenge. Hopefully Roger and Gary will see it, and maybe they'll have another little piece of knowledge they'd like to drop on you. I'll see you guys for the next video.